Good evening. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Tonight, as Maharashtra and Haryana vote, what do the results really mean? Are these polls a referendum on Narendra Modi's leadership at the centre? Will the BJP's strategy to break away from its oldest ally finally pay off? And what are the implications for national politics, if any? Well, it's been a big day as far as voting in Maharashtra and Haryana are concerned. In both states, we've actually seen the turnout go up by a few percentage points. Haryana has seen a very strong turnout of 73%. In Maharashtra, it came to about 64% at the end of the day. We're also going to be trying to show you in a few minutes what the exit poll of polls tell us tonight. There are various news channels this evening and various surveys that have been conducted after voting closed, which paint an interesting picture about how these two states have gone. So we will try and bring you an average of how it's looking. What I can tell you is that it's clear that the BJP is emerging as the single largest party both in Haryana and in Maharashtra. How it's going to pan out from there on will be interesting, whether they'll be able to form the government on their own in these two states or whether they're going to need the help of other parties. But let's take a look at how things panned out first during the course of the day.
About 4% better, hitting a record high with its best ever show. The Maharashtra Mahabharat clocking a 64% turnout, about 4% better than the 2009 assembly polls and the recently held Lok Sabha polls.
Voters spoiled for choice or leading to more confusion. For the first time in decades, the big political alliances have split and the four-way contest has meant each political party claims to have an edge over the other.
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि करार की जनता मुझे चुनेगी.
Modi ji has credibility. No one else has credibility. There are no front runners, no back runners.
जब नरेंद्र भाई स्वयं चुनाव लड़ रहे थे तो उन्होंने कहा अपनी पहचान, उन्होंने कहा कि मैं एक चाय वाला हूँ. तो एक ऐसी सामान्य व्यक्ति भी आज प्रधानमंत्री बना सकते हैं लोग. तो यही अपने सामान्य आदमी की ताकत है.
लहर या हवा कुछ नहीं चल रही है.
Since summer, the many who missed their chance to vote did not want to lose it this time too. So a massive drive began, partly from the Election Commission and partly from the citizens. Some, like noted actor and director Amol Palekar, even moved Bombay High Court, not just seeking the right to vote, but also for more rights.
Do I have the right to express my dissatisfaction after the election is over?
Already there seems to be larger voter involvement as shown by the jump in turnout. A jump helped by citizens from all walks of life, from superstars to head honchos, sportspersons, politicians and the Aam Aadmi.
जैसे कि आप अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड चुनते हैं, आप अपने दोस्त चुनते हैं, वैसे ही आपको अपना लीडर चुनना चाहिए. Somebody who is going to be doing more social work in your constituency than actually concentrating on politics.
If you want your voice to be heard, if you want your city, your state, your country to be the way it should be, I think everybody should come out and vote.
I mean, I'm looking at it from the last 50 years, and you will find it's more or less the same. There isn't too much of a difference. I personally think that these elections probably will be, there'll probably be greater enthusiasm for it.
Voting बहुत important है और हर eligible आदमी को voting का exercise practice करना चाहिए. ये अपने देश के लिए बहुत जरूरी है.
With only a marginal increase in turnout from the Lok Sabha elections, the results in Mumbai this time will be even more difficult to predict, as almost the same number of votes will be divided amongst many parties, as the alliances of the Lok Sabha elections simply do not exist. An NDTV Bureau Report.
Well, we'll have much more on the polling in Haryana in just a few minutes from now. But first, just to bring you up to speed on what the poll of polls are saying as far as the exit polls are concerned, we'll have a graphic for you in just a few minutes. But the bottom line is this. In Maharashtra, when we compile what various polls have been saying this evening from C-Voter, Nielsen, Axis and today's Chanakya, it comes to 123 seats for the BJP. And it comes to about 69 seats for the Shiv Sena. So that would mean that the BJP would just fall short of the majority mark significantly actually, and would have to therefore look for an ally in order to form the government there. Interestingly, today's Chanakya, which of course got the Lok Sabha result bang on, has projected a clear majority for the BJP with 151 seats. So today's Chanakya has stuck his neck out again and is the only one projecting a clear majority there for the BJP in Maharashtra. But when you combine all the polls together, including today's Chanakya, this is what the final picture looks like. And you can see there that there's a clear decimation there of the Congress party, the NCP at 35 seats, the MNS not really making much of an impact as was expected. It is perhaps the Haryana poll of exit polls that is going to be even more interesting to look at, because based on the projections again across various news channels tonight, the BJP looks like it's going to emerge as the single largest party in Haryana and form the government on its own there. That's just touching the halfway mark in the poll of polls at 45. The INLD next at 27 seats and the Congress with just 12 seats. So that's a very interesting projection there. I think here again today's Chanakya has given the highest number to the BJP. I think they have projected more than 50 seats for the BJP in Haryana alone, and that would really be quite an impressive performance for the BJP if indeed that is the case as far as Haryana is concerned. Swapan Dasgupta joins us here in the studio. Chandan Mitra this evening joins us from New Delhi. Great to have you back, Mr. Mitra, after a long time on the show. And Shobha Dey from Mumbai will be joined by other panelists shortly. Swapan Dasgupta, just based on what you see from these exit polls right now, what's your first impression?
Well, my first impression is that the BJP appears to have succeeded in its attempt to actually reinforce the mandate of the Lok Sabha and emerge as the dominant party in the country. And by going it alone, whether that happened willfully or by circumstances, another matter altogether in Maharashtra, but in areas where they were a junior partner, both in Maharashtra, they were a junior partner of the Shiv Sena, in Haryana, they were a junior partner of the INLD when they contested together. So in both these areas, they appear to have become the main force. So to my mind, regardless of whether they actually squeak past the 50% or not, that constitutes a tremendous advantage. And secondly, and this is very important, because they fought the election quite substantially on the appeal of Mr. Modi. To my mind, Mr. Modi's appeal has in fact gone up since the Lok Sabha elections, and it's translating more into a direct vote for the BJP.
And so therefore the strategy to make him the face of the campaign worked, according to you, A, and you know, is this then a referendum on his leadership for the last 4 or 5 months?
To call it a referendum is, of course,
you know, a reflection.
Certainly Mr. Modi was a very substantial element of this election, but he was not the only element of this election. The BJP certainly made him the most important factor, but any assembly election is also based on other considerations. Now, which in the minds of a voter, it's a basket of issues which ultimately decides his or her preference. Now, which one preyed most is very difficult to say, but certainly I would say Mr. Modi, had the BJP not done well, he would have got most of the flack. But in the sense that if the BJP does well, he should get also most of the credit.
No. Let's also just break down the numbers though for a minute. Haryana seems to be an incredible success story in particular.
If you go from about 4 or 5 which you had to nearing or smelling the majority mark.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a spectacular performance, and my friend Chandan Mitra should be reassured that perhaps that can be replicated in West Bengal also. But it shows that nothing really is impossible. You've really broken the electoral mold of Haryana.
But Shobha Dey, let me ask you about Maharashtra, and ask Swapan this as well, that if indeed, apart from today's Chanakya, you have the other polls that actually show the BJP falling short of forming a government on its own, would that be actually a bit of a disappointment for the party, which I think internally has been looking at 160 plus? Even today's Chanakya gives them about 151. There's always a margin of error in these polls. As we know, there was a margin of 100 seats in the last Lok Sabha poll. But would that come as a disappointment if indeed these poll of polls are correct and the average comes out to 123?
Definitely, because unless they hit that magic number, there will be an overall sense of disappointment, because once again it will be creating these artificial marriages and liaisons with God knows whom this time. And when the divorce happened, in fact, I believe the people of Mumbai certainly, and of course rest of Maharashtra too, were in a way relieved. Because for too long we've had these rather uncomfortable situations where they're not on the same page, they're talking in different tongues, and at the expense of the state, at the expense of progress. So if they have to partner with someone, it will be interesting to see how that pans out. But to add to what Swapan was saying, I definitely felt this time the local issues were somehow sublimated. They weren't as important. The turnout indicated that it was really a vote for a single party, for Narendra Modi, rather than for any local party that had made big promises but in the past had delivered very little. Also, I think the negativity of the campaigns cost, say, the Shiv Sena several votes, as of course, I mean, if at all you take Raj Thakre's party into reckoning, the whole pitch was negative rather than saying what they're going to do for the people of the state, and that worked against them.
Okay, interesting take there.
And of course for the Congress it was way too late. No matter what they might have said this time, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we're going to delve into a little more deeply. Just getting quick comments from everyone though on the numbers that they're seeing. Chandan Mitra, you must be quite delighted, as Swapan Dasgupta said, that the BJP perhaps could pull off a historic victory in Haryana. Do the Maharashtra figures though, just based on these polls, most of them at least, disappoint you a little?
Not at all. First, Nidhi, I must point out that this poll of polls is not a very scientific way of approaching the probable result. Firstly, opinion polls themselves leave a lot to be desired at times, and then just adding up the numbers and then dividing by trying to get an average is, I really feel that that's not something we can go by, because different polls have different parameters, they have different kind of methodologies, and so on and so forth. I think today's message is so clear that eventually you will find that the BJP has got a clear majority in both Haryana and Maharashtra, and to that extent, if I have to name a poll, today's Chanakya, which did very well in the Lok Sabha election predictions, I think they will come out on top. I am expecting the BJP to make a clean sweep of both the states. I see no reason whatsoever. If you come to, just 5-6 short, that shows the trend. And the trend is clearly that the BJP should form the government. And I think two things, other things are clear. One is that the Congress is definitely not a preferred choice of the people of the two states. They wanted the Congress governments, Congress and NCP combined in Maharashtra and Congress alone in Haryana. The people wanted them out. So that's message number one. Number two, they wanted a stable government in both states. And stable government, only BJP was the only possible party that could give them a stable government, especially now that the BJP does not have the Shiv Sena along with it. So the coalition was not a possibility. So one, Congress out. Two, stable government. So vote BJP. And three, of course, Swapan has already spoken about it, the leadership and charisma of Mr. Narendra Modi, which seems to have increased since he became Prime Minister.
Okay, before I delve deeper into that, Abhishek Singhvi, I don't think the Congress really expected to do well in either of these state elections. But just again, based on what we're seeing in these polls tonight, it looks like possibly the worst ever performance for your party, for instance, in Maharashtra. It's really, I mean, in the dumps right now.
This is a favorite exercise of all channels, and to hazard a guess on the results 2 days or 3 days before the results themselves is, I think, being proved time and again to be historically wrong, and people deserve a Nobel Prize for miniaturization if they are able to miniaturize the diversity of India into very, very small sample sizes. So let's leave the polls apart, and we do that all the time, and let's talk separately. I think, yes, to be candid, the fact that we've had, after all, extremely long triple incumbency in Maharashtra and double incumbency in Haryana, it's a great credit, first of all. India's largest state and a very important state in the north, we've had this remarkable record of governance, is something which can't be forgotten. But with that, it brings anti-incumbency. But having said that, I think the BJP, as usual, is counting its chickens well before they are anywhere roosting. They are forgetting that this is the first time 4 parties and perhaps 3 to 4 parties in each state are contesting full-blown. The division of the vote is not being factored in by the BJP. I think it is over-facile, it's very facile and over-simplistic to assume that this division will still lead to the fantastic figures about which the BJP and others in their support are dreaming of. So first point is the division 4-way is going to have an impact. It's the first time after years and years and decades. Second, I think post-poll alliances will play a role. I don't think the BJP is anywhere near this hunky-dory absolute majority figure which they are dreaming of, or anywhere near absolute majority. It is of course possible that the Congress will suffer anti-incumbency, but ultimately Maharashtra has shown time and again that it believes in the stability and the centrality, the centrism of Congress policies. It finds the Shiv Sena at one extreme, it finds the NCP not really a national party, and it knows the problems of the BJP, because it's only a matter of time before they will tie up again in some form or the other with Shiv Sena, which may well be considered very
after the Lok Sabha result.
So I think, well, after the Lok Sabha results, Nidhi, we've had almost 10, 25, 30 elections in different parts of the country.
Are not the same as state
and
elections, and you are facing, like you said, a triple incumbency in Maharashtra.
But the same argument was made about optimism then. There were states of incumbency, UP, etc. So this extreme optimism equally is not justified for the BJP. Yes, the Congress will lose seats. Yes, the Congress has a problem with anti-incumbency. But please don't count your chickens in this manner, because you are nowhere near absolute majority.
Okay, you believe it will be far more fractured than what the polls are saying. Now, Sopan Das Gupta,
far more fractured in many directions.
No, so if indeed the BJP will need an ally in Maharashtra, do you see that being the Shiv Sena, or do you think that they would veer towards the NCP?
Look, firstly, as Chandan quite rightly points out, these are pool of polls. They cover polls which are distinctly dodgy to polls which are robust in their methodology. I think we have drawn an aggregate. The aggregate at present shows us that in all likelihood the BJP is the top dog in this race. Now, given that, if someone comes within smelling distance of majority, the natural inclination has been for them to get a majority, for a lot of people to say, well, we've just come through an election, we're not going to risk another one, so we'll give this government we'll give a government a chance, even if it's a minority government. So I think a full-fledged alliance may not happen immediately. But having said that, I think there was a larger point in this election, particularly in Maharashtra, which is that the Shiv Sena wanted to give the BJP less seats than what to contest than what the BJP appears to be winning, even if we take the most conservative poll estimate to be correct. Therefore, that's been a reality check as far as the Shiv Sena is concerned. There is a natural convergence at some part between the BJP and the Shiv Sena. There is a great degree of overlapping in terms of their constituency, which does not happen in the case of the NCP.
So you're saying that
I would say, if in the event that there is going to be any form of tie-up, post-election tie-up, whether it's a reforging of a coalition or just an outside support, I think it's in all likelihood it is going to be the Shiv Sena, unless the Sena decides very consciously that they will really act upon the more intemperate part of their pre-election rhetoric, which is to say Marathi versus Gujarati. You know, that was, to my mind, one of the most irresponsible facets of the election campaign. Now, unless the Shiv Sena wants to go there, unless Uddhav Thackeray wants to have an internecine warfare with Raj Thackeray and to say, I am more Marathi Manus than you are, I think the rank and file of the Sena given that there are so many municipalities and municipal bodies where the BJP and the Sena are already in alliance, they do not want to disturb that. So I think that would be the natural.
But then, you know, Shobhade, of course, Sopan Das Gupta and Chandan Mitra are very confident that the BJP will be able to form a government on their own.
I'm not saying that. I just said
today's Chanakya, I would say today the most credible pollster of the lot, and you know, they are saying so. Let's face it, they got the Lok Sabha poll right. But you know, if in the event they do need the Shiv Sena's help, you know, Uddhav Thackeray is not is going to be tough on this one, and therefore, while Swapan says that the Shiv Sena and the BJP are obviously natural partners, the NCP option is still there. It's not ruled out, is it?
I agree with you, because given the history of what has taken place in the last couple of weeks in particular, the bitterness that has been out there, and also the tussle for who will become the chief minister, I think that was really the deal breaker. And the fact that the BJP did not announce categorically a candidate. Had they done that, perhaps they would have fared better. So I don't see Uddhav, he'll play hard ball, because then definitely he'll be calling the shots if they have to work together. So the NCP cannot be ruled out. Having said that, I think Maharashtra is done with the Congress, and they're pretty much done with the NCP too. They're sick of the way the corruption in the NCP has corroded any kind of credibility and belief that the people of Maharashtra had, or any regard they had, whether it was for Sharad Pawar or Ajit Pawar or Supriya or for Praful Patel. So if it's going to be cobbled together with these elements, it's going to be a pretty sad comment, because Maharashtra is ready for dynamic change. They do not want to deal with the old guard. They do not want to have partners sleeping together who they do not trust. So it's going to be a tough call if they don't hit that magic number for the BJP.
All right, so then let's talk about Mr. Modi and this campaign.
These guys.
Yeah, and what this campaign, therefore, and what these results mean as far as Mr. Modi's leadership is concerned. Majid Memon, would you concede today that Mr. Modi will emerge? And look, I think we can all safely say that the BJP will be the single largest party in Maharashtra. Let's face it, we know that. Now, would you concede that is basically solely to do with Mr. Modi's charisma and his leadership? He's emerging as a force that perhaps Indira Gandhi was in the 1970s.
Nidhi, you know, a couple of things I would just, because I have been hearing the discussion till now. Number one, that the results which are being reflected are taking into account the polling till 3 p.m. 3 precious hours and dying hours, you know, are vitally relevant for the purposes of finally coming to a position. So therefore, we are not very sure till this moment as to whether BJP is getting 120 or 130 or 140 seats. According to us, they would definitely not be in a position to form the government on their own, even if they emerge as the single largest party. Now, if that is the situation, in that event, the problem with BJP would be that the natural people who would be joining them for the purpose of formation of government would have been Shiv Sena, but the bitterness between the two parties during the past 96 hours, last 3-4 days, you know, has escalated to such a point that Nitin Gadkari has gone on record today itself by saying that there is no question of even accepting apologies when they have come to the Prime Minister's father. And now, you see, they won't be able to make any kind of, and plus Shiv Sena, for various other reasons, may also think that it would be a suicidal now.
So the NCP is ready to step in where the Shiv Sena can't, you're saying?
No, see, the question is NCP, that situation is not going to arise. You see, you are giving, the survey is giving us 30-40 seats, which is absolutely impracticable. We are definitely going to retain the numbers that we had, or we may make some improvement which will be shown on the 19th. We'll have to wait for a couple of days more. And I don't think that situation is coming. And if you come to the question of whether these results are a referendum to Narendra Modi, I would say not at all. Narendra Modi has not been a candidate for the Chief Minister's post. Narendra Modi is not a contestant in the election. He only came here generally for the purpose of promotion of BJP, and then he
And
goes away.
27
And minus
rallies.
Narendra Modi, BJP is practically zero.
Well, the point is that he addressed 27 rallies in Maharashtra. He didn't just come for a general visit, Chandan Mitra. Many were saying in a sense that it was a risk that the BJP took by splitting up with the Shiv Sena, and that the biggest step that they took was to then, push Mr. Modi into the front and center of the campaign. And therefore, if tomorrow the BJP does emerge in a position where it forms the government on its own in Maharashtra, you will of course give the credit to Mr. Modi, but if it falls short, will the responsibility also go to Mr. Modi and Amit Shah?
Well, to begin with, I can only sympathize with my friend Majid Memon, who is in a difficult position today. Therefore, he is clutching at ours. Since, last few hours, lot of voting, the whole result can go topsy-turvy. He's clutching at ours like people clutch at straws. And those who clutch at straws, we know they don't really succeed in the end. Second, I'm amused that today the opposition is saying that this is no referendum on Mr. Narendra Modi. I know what would have happened had the opinion polls not been so definitive. They would have said, see, we told you the Modi magic is waning, there was never any wave, it was a flash in the pan, now Modi is gone. The by-elections in UP first showed that, now here you find the BJP not doing as well. So this is a referendum on Narendra Modi, and this his whole basis of his popularity is gone. They would have said exactly this. I know these lines were all rehearsed for those who appear on television. So now to say that this is not I'm not saying it's a referendum on Modi, not at all. But it is definitely an endorsement of Mr. Narendra Modi's leadership. It is an endorsement of the BJP. It is a rejection of the Congress and its allies, and it is a vote for a better Maharashtra and a better Haryana. I think that sums it up.